Welcome to Focus Sport. This is the weekend preview show. Kia ora, I'm Kate Wells, and joining me is Newstalk ZB sports reporter and rugby commentator Elliott Smith as we chat Super Rugby Pacific, which kicks off this weekend. So let's take a look at what's coming up. The opening New Zealand match sees the Chiefs take on the Highlanders in Queenstown on Saturday afternoon, with the Crusaders and Hurricanes going head-to-head on Saturday night just after 7 in Dunedin. There's some cricket action with the Black Caps taking on South Africa in the first of 2 test matches at Christchurch's Hagley Oval. Meanwhile, the White Ferns take on India in their third one-day international against India in Queenstown on Friday. All right, Elliott, Super Rugby Pacific is here finally. What can we expect from the Kiwi teams this weekend? Will they be a bit rusty or ready to go?
Well, at least we've got some in action, because it looked for a while that maybe Super Rugby might have to be delayed. They're gone to the bubble in Queenstown. We will get some Super Rugby. Of course, the Blues and Moana Pacifica won't be there, but the Chiefs and Highlanders play on Saturday afternoon. Then we've got the Crusaders and Hurricanes in the game after at Forsyth. But I think they will be a little bit rusty. They've had their disruptions to the pre-season, so it's hard to know how they might build into the season. And then you've got the whole thing of Super Rugby, All Blacks coming in slow to Super Rugby to start the year, minute restrictions to start. So that's going to be confusing. You're going to have players playing 40 minutes, 60 minutes, 80 minutes. So I think it'll be 2 or 3 weeks until we get a real read on how these teams are going in Super Rugby.
And what do you think we can expect from some players like Caleb Clark, Jack Goodhue, Beauden Barrett, who we'll see eventually? You know, we haven't seen them play domestically last year at all. So, you know, do you think they'll bring plenty of fire, or they'll be a bit rusty?
Well, I think poor old Caleb Clark will be desperate to get out in the park. It's been 8 months since he played any form of competitive rugby. You look back to the Sevens, he missed the squad for that. Didn't get to play for Auckland in the NPC. Didn't get to go to the All Blacks on the end of year 2. So he'll be desperately wanting to prove a point. Unfortunately, he's going to have to wait an extra week to be able to do it. So this is one of the frustrating things. And I think all the players are going to have to get their heads around. This year is just going to be a stop-start one, I think, for at least the next few months. We're not going to see Roger Tuivasa-Sheck this week, of course, either. And someone like Beauden Barrett still getting over that head knock that he suffered against Ireland last year. So when you look at the campaign, it's just probably going to be one where you might play for a week and then things might change again. You might go back to Auckland. Who knows how it's going to play out? And I think that's the one real unknown for the season, is that we're going to start in Queenstown. Who knows how the season will end up, whether we'll have the Trans-Tasman aspect of it by the time we wrap up in the middle of the year.
Yeah, and we've also got some cricket this weekend. Fantastic having Test cricket in Christchurch with the Black Caps taking on South Africa in the first Test. You know, our Test team is in really good form, but we don't have Ross Taylor and Kane Williamson for the first time since 2008. Either of them haven't played, so what can we expect from the Black Caps?
Yeah, big pressure on the middle order to deliver it, because they haven't really in the last few tests, and now they're missing Kane Williamson and Ross Taylor. So those positions 5 to 8 that have kind of been able to rely on Ross Taylor and Kane Williamson in recent times have now got to really step up. So do the players that are batting in 3 and 4, but we haven't seen perhaps the likes of Henry Nichols, Daryl Mitchell is going to come in. He needs to bat well. Tom Blundell as well. I think his spot's under a little bit of pressure. He's the anointed one to replace BJ Watling, but hasn't quite settled into the Black Caps team. So I think the middle order is where things are going to have to stack up. Will Young, he's a player of immense promise, and we've seen him come in and do really good things in the Black Caps jersey so far. Devon Conway as well. But I still think there's a bit of question marks as to how this Black Caps team will respond. South Africa, they're an opponent that the Black Caps just cannot get past. They've never won a Test series against South Africa in their entire history. So that's sort of a black mark that they haven't been able to shake off in recent times. This is the best possible team to do it. It's not as good as the South African teams in recent years. They've still got a very strong pace attack, but not quite the South African team that dominated a lot of the world cricket in the early 2010s.
And we've also got the White Ferns taking on India in the third ODI in Queenstown. This is great preparation for the White Ferns, isn't it, going into that World Cup? Do you think there's still some spots to solidify out of that wider squad? Yeah,
I think so. They've got their 15, but in terms of making up that 11, I think we're still looking for players to stand up and make themselves accounted and go, yep, I want to be part of that match day 11 for those big games at the World Cup. And I suppose that's where we've seen the White Ferns in recent times. We've had Amy Satterthwaite, Susie Bates, Sophie Devine, all those players, Amelia Kerr, stand up, but some of those other players in the team haven't been able to put out a a complete team performance alongside them. I think that's where we need to see the White Ferns do that. Promising signs in the first couple of games that they've beaten India, who are a team that are considered one of the real contenders for the tournament. Keep that run going. Some of those players, they know these local conditions. New Zealand could be onto a good thing with the White Ferns, and I think that's the thing. I'm intrigued to see someone like a Frankie Mackay maybe come into the White Ferns, get a game here or there and push her case as well for selection in the matchday 11 for the World Cup.
Yeah, the White Ferns play on Friday. If you want to catch that action in amongst a busy weekend of sport with the Black Caps and Super Rugby Pacific. Thanks for joining me, Elliott. It's been great to hear your insight. I'm Kate Wells, and this has been the Focus Sport Weekend Preview Show.
Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel to stay up to date with all the latest news from the New Zealand Herald. Click the subscribe button below or check out one of the videos here and head over to nzherald.co.nz for more details on these stories and more.